And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports, where we will be taking a look around the broken bits of the pirate ship to talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and all things as we do every week here at RBLR Sports. This week we are going to talk about our loss to the powerhouse Kansas City Chiefs, as well as with the bye finally coming, how we feel about the team in general. So my name is Eureka, and joining me for this week is Musab. Musab, how are you surviving our bone-chilling cold wave that we're going through here in Tampa?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
I've pulled out all my cozy jackets, and I got some cozy cabin socks I got from Dick's Sporting Goods actually a few days ago. So yeah, that's helping me a bit as well. But hey, it's winter. I guess the winter season is finally here. So as much as I'm not a fan of the cold weather, it's gonna have to come around here at some point. I know it's Florida and we're usually warm, but it's cool with me, and obviously with this pandemic going on, it's not like I'm always outdoors, so it's all good with me. It is what it is. I'm staying warm. I'm staying safe. What about you, Eureka?
I'm good, brother. It's any excuse that I get, like the 2 weeks out of the year down here, that we can actually put on a hoodie or a jacket or just anything that resembles like a knitted hat or any of that stuff, a skull cap, like whatever you got. It's like the wife and I are high-fiving each other because we finally get to wear like our long sleeve jackets. So yeah, we're actually taking it in stride and enjoying it. You could smell the fireplaces around the buildings and the homes and stuff like that are all going. It's like, oh, what's that smell? It's like, nope, a barbecue shop didn't open up down the street. It's everyone firing up their heaters and stuff. So that's been a little weird, but other than that, I'm all about a little reprieve. I don't need snow. I don't need any of that, but it's nice to have it come down into the 50s every once in a while. So I think that's the one thing we're missing here in Tampa is like a fall season, like a legitimate. We don't need winter. I don't need that, but we, a nice little sweater weather season would be okay with me down here. But one thing that is definitely chilling on our temperature here is, unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Bucs could not pull it out in the Battle of the Behemoths against the Kansas City Chiefs. I was happy that Tony Romo was calling this game on the telecast because as much as I didn't like Tony Romo as a player, as a commentator, you can definitely see how he breaks down defenses and how he sees tendencies and all these things that he's quickly becoming a guy that I would love to sit down and have a beer with and talk some ball. And I think that Romo was making a lot of points during the game on why he thinks the Bucs offense hasn't been good, and he was kind of shown right when he was in the first quarter, second quarter. He was saying, well, look, Tampa's doing this, they should do this, they should do that. And then once they actually started doing, it's like they had a feed. They were stream sniping, right? They could hear what Romo was saying. It's like they made all of those particular adjustments and had that good comeback in the second half. But unfortunately, all of that wasn't enough to put away the Chiefs. Musab, how would you characterize the whole game, or at least the difference between the first half and the second half?
I mean, if anyone was watching, and for those who were watching, it was pretty obvious. I mean, that first half was, I want to say, yeah, completely different from the second half, just because, first of all, the whole Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes connection twice that resulted in 2 touchdowns was just absolutely heartbreaking. First one was it was like wow, okay, but in that second one when Tyreek Hill went for that flip, I mean that was just a straight up
Yeah.
just disrespectful. That was just like that's like a screw you, Bucks. Like y'all thought you could actually like play with us or something.
Mm.
Obviously the scoreboard told us something a little different, even though we did lose. But I think the slow start just really got to us. Hey, they are the Kansas City Chiefs, so you know they've never shown any signs of slowing down. But I also don't think it's time to panic. I know obviously we've lost what 3 of our 4 last matches
Yeah.
against other teams, and
Yeah.
3 of our 4 last matches have been against very good teams.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's nothing to blame. Um, but I think there's some information that people need to be aware about. As hey, first of all, we put up a good fight. After the first quarter, the score was 17-0 in favor of the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill having over 200 yards. But for as bad as that seemed to be, our Bucks fought back. We scored 2 touchdowns in the final quarter of the game, and our defense stood tall for most of the second half. And yeah, we ended up falling, but only by 3 points, while limited, the Chiefs to their third lowest point total of the season. So I'm satisfied. Can I say I'm happy with the result? Obviously, our Bucks lost. Am I gonna say I'm disappointed? I would say the first quarter was very disappointing, just with our secondaries and kind of that whole coverage of Tyreek Hill. But overall, I was expecting some game like this game to go this kind of way. But before I go any deeper, I want to hear what you got to say, Eureka, about the game.
Yeah, I think we both said we thought this was going to definitely be a back and forth match, and it might even come down to who has the ball last. And so, yeah, that first half, man. I mean, Tyreek just, I mean, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter is just ridiculous. And you could see that Kansas City just was exploiting one-on-one coverage, and Patrick Mahomes was perfect at kind of taking what the Bucs are giving, and they get the ball out really quickly, and coupled with the Buccaneers, the penalties started showing back up. All of those that it was kind of like the beginning of that Bears game where just everyone seemed rattled. No one seemed like they were in like the zone. So, and that includes Tom Brady. It includes the defense up to the third or fourth possession that the Chiefs had. Until then, it was they were already up to two or three scores by the time people finally got settled in. And that's when finally, towards that end of the second quarter or in the middle of it, you could see the defensive line making some adjustments, starting to get better penetration, and Ndamukong Suh getting a sack and things like that. And so they were able to turn the pressure up. But the Bucs offense just, again, they came up the first 4 possessions with nothing, and it was not very encouraging, considering that it's kind of like you have to score 30 or more points in order to contend with the Chiefs, and if you're only putting up, it takes you 5 possessions to finally score a touchdown or get any points on the board. That is not a recipe for success. And two, just kind of seeing some of the continuations of the problems that we had seen in that Rams game with our offense. It's like they didn't change anything. They're not doing anything differently. And that's obviously that's a different story towards the end of the first half and in the second half altogether. At least some of the play calling was changing for the better. But all in all, it just I'm not disappointed in the outcome because I did think that the Chiefs were going to win. We both thought it was going to be a shootout, and towards the end, it got that way. I honestly kind of felt like towards the end of the game, that's what we were all expecting from the first snap. So, yeah, like if we would have done this show immediately after the game, I think the tone would have been a lot worse. I think the anger is a little high because of all the uncertainty surrounding this team. Because I think we look at them matching up against the Chiefs, and it's like, I think we were really expecting this like heavyweight, both teams ready to come and fight, and then Tyreek Hill just dismantling the secondary immediately. Like the first play of the game is a huge gain for Tyreek Hill, and then there's 2 offsides penalties, and then Hill just demolishes him again. Even though the Chiefs only came out of that drive with 3 points, they scored a lot more in the momentum column, and it was a while until the Bucs were able to maybe get the smelling salts under their nose and wake up from the punch that they had got hit with right off the bat.
Most definitely. But I mean, it's you have to be aware that this Chiefs team is there's something different. I mean, you're talking about a team that, first of all, has a quarterback who even Bruce Arians himself said is a human cheat code. All right, and Patrick Mahomes now leads the NFL in passing yards, and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce lead the NFL in receiving yards, going 1 and 2. So I mean, this team is it's something else. And the fact that we put up a good fight, we didn't let them kind of destroy us. It shows a lot in regards to our Buccaneers. Our Buccaneers, they held up in the red zone and the third down defense.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to planning on how you're going to kind of stop Patrick Mahomes, you're going to have to pick your poisons about specific things you're going to want to do. I think at most times the play may look over for a normal quarterback, but Mahomes is not a normal quarterback. I saw that a lot, especially near the end of the game, when I thought, hey, maybe we could at least try to tie up this game or at least get an attempt to go down the field. But even when Mahomes had no options to throw it to or kind of toss it off to, he was still able to kind of get some runs himself. So I don't think anyone was really expecting that or maybe we were expecting it, but there's only so much you can do. There's only so much we can always do. So you have to be kind of choosing the right things that you think are going to work out when it comes on defense. I think the defensive effort was something to be proud of. The defense definitely adjusted really well in the second half. So definitely a shout out to the whole defense. And even before the second half adjustments, the Bucs were stingy on the third down and inside the red zone. The very first possession of the game, the Chiefs seemed destined to get into their end zone, driving down the field in 4 plays, and help back-to-back Bucs penalties. But 3 plays in a goal-to-go situation, 2 were from a 1-yard line. The Kansas Chiefs decided to just settle for the field goal. And that kind of kept up with the entire game. The Chiefs kind of converting 0 of their 3 trips into the end zone. And hey, our Bucs are definitely, I think, top 5, top 10 in the goal-to-go defense this season so far. So it makes sense. And I guess I think also now minus maybe the first quarter. I think the individual performances by certain players is definitely helping the team click well. You know, as I just said, we didn't get off to a hot start on offense either. You know, they did start to get into a groove as the game went on, especially with a guy like Brady. You're never quite out of it. So, definitely a shout out to him and all the other leaders on the team. Whoever they are, just keeping the rest of the guys motivated. Um, and I guess maybe the other thing I just want to say is when it came to this game, I want to say at least our kicker Ryan Suckup is, I know most people don't give a shout out to a kicker, but he's been doing a phenomenal job. He's been almost perfect so far this season. So definitely a shout out to him. But I mean that's all I really got to say. At least for this game, it was kind of what I expected. Obviously I always want our team to win. But
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't really things don't really fall into place. But just the fact that, and I know I keep saying this, but just the fact that we going against such a deadly, amazing team with Mahomes, Hill, and Kels, and some other guys like Sammy Watkins and Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The fact that we were able to adjust in the second half and really make sure they don't really destroy us or just pummel right through us, it really shows that hey, we're still learning. This is a first year. This is the first time a lot of these stars are kind of teaming up. Fournette, Ronald Jones, Brady, Godwin, Evans, et cetera, et cetera. So, to anyone who thought we were gonna go undefeated this whole season,
Right.
they don't know football, or they just don't know sports because that's not really how it happens. You look at any teams in the past, whether they be in football, basketball, soccer. It takes time for teammates and the whole team overall to click. So the fact that we also got Brady another year is definitely gonna help. I don't want to talk too much about the future, but I think next season is gonna be definitely better as long as all of our guys stay healthy. But we got time, and our next 4 games, definitely not worried about, as I have been these last few games in the past with Saints, Rams, and Chiefs. So it's going to be a different kind of feeling, and my take is we're going to end the season 11-5. I don't see us losing, or I mean I hope we don't lose. I don't see why we would. So. I mean, that's all I really have to say for our Bucs. What about you, Eureka?
Yeah, I was gonna say let's we'll kind of go into just at the moment kind of what we think the rest of the year is going to look like, being that the Bucs finally have a bye. I think the last thing I want to say about the Chiefs game is that that in the second half there was somewhat better play calling, and I say that because. There's still this gray area with these deep passes that they still have not. I mean, there was the one really good pass that Brady got annihilated as he threw it, and Godwin was able to, with outstretched hands on his fingertips, pull it in. And there's been a couple of plays with Evans down the sideline, but definitely not enough to justify the amount of downfield throws that Tom Brady has been throwing. And it did show in the second half with one of the interceptions was just a bad throw, but the other one was a tipped pass at the line, so what can do? But that's still 2 turnovers in a game where everything matters, and the defense still having penalties continue kind of at the worst times in the second half. An interception. Now, I know Mahomes was just throwing up a free play, but these drive extending penalties that the Bucs had, even in the second. It just kind of was frustrating because the Bucs would have they had a chance to win this game, even though all of these things happened. But in reality, it never really felt like they were. While they weren't out of it completely, they never really felt like they were the ones that were really steering the ship. It was getting inching closer and closer and closer, but at that point, having a 3-score lead all the way till the fourth quarter, and it isn't till the middle of the fourth quarter that you're really within striking distance. That was what was bad, is that all those little things matter, and all the little things kind of went the bad way for the Bucs this game. And as we'll talk about kind of the rest of the year and what we think, but it's still, that question is still there about, like, we've seen them now against the Rams last week and against the Chiefs this week, where we're saying these are two teams that they're probably going to run into, one of them at least, in the playoffs.
Right.
I expect that we'll make the playoffs. So when we get there, a Packers team that we did beat, but now you got to play them again. A Packers team or a Rams team or maybe even a Chiefs team if we get all the way to the Super Bowl. Or any one of these big time matchups, it's other than the Packers game, there hasn't been that just like, we're better, we know it, we have a better game plan, and we execute it, and there's no penalties, and it's just this consistent, all-around great effort. I think if we would have seen that, and it was just, everything we did, we were firing on all cylinders, and just, gosh, the Chiefs are just the defending champions, and they're just way better, and they scored 50 points, and we scored 49 points, and that's why they won. But that's not what happened. This was a frustrating game because as soon as you see that backflip by Tyreek Hill, it's just like, okay, that team is not quite putting the brakes on or putting their foot off the gas pedal, but whether it's really good adjustments that the Bucs were able to make, you could still see little flashes where the Bucs didn't completely have the handle on what they needed to do, knowing full well that Mahomes is going to find these guys open. But they did. The Bucs did have a really good run defense, like they've had all year. They made some plays, and they were vulnerable at some other points in their pass coverage. But still, I still have that question about when we go to a big game, who's going to show up, and what are there's no real consistent identity even through all these weeks, that we don't have a consistent identity other than the bad identity that they've shown, where they kind of want to air it out on, third and short. Okay, let's throw it 80 yards down the field. But even then, if Brady's connecting with people, you had Cameron Brate drop a pass. You've had other guys kind of not able to, other than Godwin, really outstretching and grabbing that deep throw, kind of in a diving catch there. You haven't had just a lot of people stepping up to the plate consistently week after week. But we pulled out some good wins. Unfortunately, this wasn't one of them. But we do have a lot of opportunities to get to at least. There's a good opportunity to get 2 out of the next 4 games for sure, and possibly even running the table. So I'd like to get into all that. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about what we see the Bucs' remainder of the schedule looking like. We'll see you right after the break. Welcome back into RBLR Sports. So let's put the past behind us, and let's move on, because we finally have a bye week. The Bucs have finally got to rest this week. We get to kind of sit back and watch the rest of the league play this week. I know I'm going to be sitting down. It's one of my favorite things to do when I finally can watch Red Zone and not have to worry about just the Bucs. We can sit there and watch all the teams around, and there's a lot that still has to play out before the playoffs start, and definitely the Bucs are, I would say, a favorite for at least one of the wild card spots, if not an outside chance that the Saints maybe lose a few games and the Bucs would still pull out a division championship. So, Musab, I did want to ask you, what do you think where the Bucs are right now, and where do you see them going over these last 4 games of the season?
Well, where I see the Bucks right now are well, obviously 7-5,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I see them as just a team that has its ups and downs. It's good games and bad games, but also it's good quarters and it's bad quarters and good halves and bad halves as well. It's this last week was another slow start that doomed Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But hey, they're getting a bye week now, so that should give them a little more time to get their talented offense on the same page while working on getting their defensive house in order, which I think is, 2 important things they definitely need to be, working on. But overall, Bucks heading into their bye week right now, they got one goal, and that's just to win the final 4 games, because those are more important than anything. Especially, we need to have some statement games. Yeah, I know. Obviously, our opponents are not similar to teams like the Rams or Saints or Chiefs. But we still gotta show up every single game and give it our best. And if for those people who are saying, oh well, obviously, the Bucks definitely should win these next 4 games, but who cares? I mean, it's the Falcons and Lions, and why? Okay, whoop-de-doo, they won their last 4 games, but this is something the Bucks need to be aware of. And are they all gonna are they gonna come up perfectly in these next 4 games and completely demolish each team? Most likely not, but we got to show the league, and we got to show our past opponents that each game we're getting better, we're changing, and obviously we're not perfect, and we're gonna have some flaws here and there, or some things that definitely could be tweaked up. But overall, I think just some suitable, I guess, topics in regards to your question, Eureka, are you and I have discussed this before. Is the slow starts are killing this team, Eureka.
Yeah.
And it isn't just one side of the ball. Both offense and defense in this quarter of the season are getting their doors blown off, especially in the first quarter. It's I don't know what goes on, in the coaching staff or maybe in the players' minds. Obviously, no one wants to have a slow start, but it's also, I guess, it's the first quarter. It's okay. Hey, maybe this is just who we are. We've won games with slow starts. But we've also lost games with slow starts. Our Bucks have been outscored 52-7. All right, in the third quarter of the season, and haven't had a first drive touchdown since week 4. So to me, it's inexcusable, especially with the weapons we have. The way I kind of see it is, perhaps it might just be stubbornness from the coaching staff, and it's maybe a complete disconnect from the players on the field. We just don't know. And, you can't beat playoff caliber teams when you're too busy beating yourself. They're not going to have a chance of winning a playoff game if they can't get things started on the right foot in these games. I know the last 4 games are favorable from the outside looking in, But Minnesota is starting to catch fire, and the Falcons are 4-2 since Raheem Morris took over as interim head coach.
Yep.
So the Bucs are gonna have to find their A game this last month of the season. Maybe some other things I want to say is regarding our running backs. We gotta be aware of who Leonard Fournette is and who Ronald Jones is on this team now. It's what we're 12 games in now. Yeah. We ought to know who to use when, and obviously, sometimes we might have some lucky openings for either of those players to, run down the field a few yards or many yards or maybe straight to the end zone. But, I just think that, and I hate to, kind of pick on a player, but I just think that, hey, Leonard Fournette, he's a good addition to this team, but the way I see it, Ronald Jones has proved to be the guy deserving of the snaps and carries that Fournette keeps getting sometimes. I think Fournette, and not that I'm calling Ronald Jones small or anything, but I think Fournette's got that. He reminds me of, not exactly him, but he reminds me of a Jerome Bettis. He's that big bus,
Mm-hmm.
That guy that I can just see, you look him in the eye and tell him, hey, we really, really need these 2 yards, Leonard, can you get him? I think he can. But, if we're thinking about, making key plays and especially starting off on the right foot, we got to make sure Ronald Jones is nice and hot and ready to dominate that field. And, it's obviously it's more than just one person. It's also up to Arians and Leftwich making this decision, and they can't be too thick-headed to change. And taking Rojo out of the game and giving snaps to Fournette, perhaps it's costing the team, or perhaps it's costing the team the other way. Maybe giving Rojo more snaps than Fournette. So we don't know, but the way I see it right now is, I just think that some of these snaps or some of these key drives, they're just going to the wrong person. But that's just compared to the slow start, that's just a small thing. I mean, that's something. It's not my biggest worry for these next 4 games, but in the playoffs, we need to be aware of that. Mindless penalties is my next one.
Wow. Yeah.
I just don't like them.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about those bogus roughing the passer calls, on Jason Pierre-Paul or Sue or anyone. This team has had back-to-back offside penalties on Kansas City's opening drive that we just saw this last game. They had another one when it was, 1st and 20 against Sue that negated interception, and the drive ended in a touchdown. So think about that. Because of one guy, the Chiefs were able to get a touchdown, and you think about that. These things are not supposed to be happening. All right, these are mental mistakes that the Buccaneers cannot afford to make against teams like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right, you can't. Well, I mentioned before, you can't beat the best teams in the league when you're giving them free yards and you're having slow starts. All right.
Yeah.
And then looking into it, there's probably an encyclopedia I could probably write about this, because there's just a lot to say, but I want to keep it short and sweet. It's the play calling. I'm not trying to dive into this way too deep, but for those who watch the game and for those who've been following us this whole season, we all know the issues. You see as much as I do, that the Bucs have success chipping away down the field with underneath passes and scheming their pass catchers, on these intermediate routes. Yet again, whether it's Arians or Byron Leftwich, they keep calling these huge shots down the field that just are not working. Yeah. All right, we gotta grind it out. Something that I was hoping to see, especially against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are so dominant, and they like to keep grinding it out, pushing forward slowly, unless they have some chances to throw it to Tyreek Hill for some long drives, but that's another story. But you got to give our defense some rest, all right? We can't be having this mentality. Okay, obviously, yeah, if you got Mike Evans all the way down the field, and he's open, or he can take some size advantage to the secondaries. Yeah, obviously, all right, yeah, go for a try, but you can't just keep trying it. You gotta give our defense some rest. You gotta put more pressure, and you gotta try to kind of waste your defenders' energy. So it's just not working. I'm hoping the Buccaneers are aware of this, and I'm hoping the staff is aware of this. They're just not using any motion to get the defense to tip their hand even a little bit. The running go route after go route, protection isn't there to give Brady enough time to hit those passes as well. And I know, we keep having, injuries. Q Shipley out, I believe a career-ending injury, or at least a season-ending injury, and then Ali Marpet coming back. And then just, again, don't want to pick on anyone, but Donovan Smith having his up and downs when it comes to blocking. So it's just, we got to step it up on that stuff too. I think that's a big thing too. It's, hey, you really want to go for those, long route passes, then you got to make sure that you have a bunch of big men protecting you, Tom Brady. All right, but and as for the defense, why did it take a full quarter and 17 points by the Chiefs? And this is also for past games, but this is obviously this Chiefs game being fresh in our mind. Yeah. Why did it take a full quarter and 17 points by the Chiefs to finally realize you need to start giving Carlton Davis help with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
All right, no defender in the NFL can keep up with Tyreek the Cheetah Hill, all right? Or stop him one-on-one unless you're some, all-star defensive back and, you got fresh legs, you had some rest or whatever. This is not much film on this dude like there is on other guys, all right? And as much as you wanted Davis to shut him down by himself, that's not really going to happen the way I see it. I love Carlton Davis, but, you got to be realistic. Yeah, he can stop him here and there, but you can't expect Carlton Davis to just have a shutout game against Tyreek Hill, all right?
Yeah.
So, again, when it comes to play calling, that is on coaching, all right, and game planning, not Davis. Obviously, could he have maybe done better, maybe have some better communication with the rest of his teammates, the rest of the secondary unit, and maybe so. But, again, these kind of mistakes are what put the Bucs behind,
Yeah.
Especially behind, from the jump. And our coaching staff is supposed to be too smart to let this kind of stuff happen. And then maybe, I would love to hear your things, but just the last two things I want to talk about, Eureka, is
sure.
I'm thinking this Evans-Brady / Brady-Gronk connection. Mike Evans had 9 targets and only came away with 3 receptions. Granted, 2 of those 3 were touchdowns, but what we saw on the TV broadcast is that the two were having a bit of a disagreement on the sidelines. I saw that at least once or twice, especially after an interception by Brady. And it's not like Brady and Evans are the only two that haven't been on the same page. In fact, it seems that there are multiple occasions each game where the Bucs quarterback, Tom Brady, expects his pass catchers to do one thing and they do another. These guys have been playing together, for 12 weeks, and the kinks have been worked out by now, I hope, and it looks like, but I don't know what kind of maybe, mojo or powwow they're going to be orchestrating during their bye week, because, this stuff needs to be fixed by the time the Viking game comes up, and it's on both sides. You have to acknowledge that, hey, this is Tom Brady, this is the GOAT, this is the dude he's seen it all, so, hey, to anyone who's kind of having these disagreements, take some time and, take a deep breath or something. But then again, for Tom Brady, you're working with a brand new unit. You're working with multiple stars. This is, you got Fournette, Ronald Jones, Godwin, Evans, etc., Gronkowski, who's also back from his retirement. So you got to be aware of what you're working with, all right? You got to be aware of, first of all, this ain't the Patriots, and these are guys who've been on fire in the past. This isn't something new. This isn't just some random, new guys. Oh, like, these guys weren't that good this year, last year, but this year they're just really popping off because they got Tom Brady. No, you could no, you could throw Blaine Gabbert in there, and if he's feeling hot, he can make Evans, Godwin, and Gronkowski look good. So it's also on Tom Brady as well to be the right leader, especially with the way things are going. And I'm not saying things are going bad and it's over, but there are things that easily can be fixed by the right people. All right, this is a team effort for us to improve. This is not just one person I'm throwing blame on. This is a team effort. This is on everyone. All right, we all need to contribute. And all that said, to those fans or to anyone watching our Bucs, stop overreacting. I've seen tweets and messages from my friends and, just from other people as well, when I'm kind of, checking up on the scores or, in the past when I'm, not able to fully watch the game or something like that. Or if I'm just on a little bathroom break or something, I see tweets and messages about the Bucs and how they need to clean the house and how Brady was a waste of money. Whole coaching staff should be fired at this point, just because of all the stars we have and it's still not working out.
Yeah.
But, on the flip side, this is what all the people that are complaining have also been asking for the last decade.
Yeah.
All right. Normally by now we're talking draft.
Yeah,
especially exactly. Normally not by now we're talking draft, Eureka, but the Bucs are still in line for a playoff berth. Have the Bucs met expectations, by most fans? No. Were a lot of expectations a little too high? Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But look, it wasn't Super Bowl or bust in 2020. All right. They signed Brady for 2 years. They've made moves to give themselves the best chance to win one in 2020. But let's be real, there isn't nothing normal about this 2020 or this 2020 NFL season. All right, the teams with the best chance to win in 2020 are the ones that didn't make sweeping changes in the offseason. It's the ones with continuity. So you can call it excuse all you want, but that's the reality of the situation, Eureka, and to all the listeners and fans out there who are still overreacting. There's a difference between reason and excuse, and the Bucs struggles on offense is because of the way this offseason went down. That's the reason. I think it's going to be a long 2 weeks as they head into the bye, but the Bucs have a chance to make a playoffs, and that is something every Bucs fan has been begging for since 2007. So this is special. We got to keep our hopes high. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. We're gonna, I believe it. All right, I'm not, gonna be some super sunshine and rainbows, jolly guy and be like, yeah, it's okay. We're gonna be perfect and all that. After this, we've learned our lesson. No, we don't keep learning our lesson. And that, that happens. No team is perfect, unless maybe you are the Pittsburgh Steelers with an undefeated record. But I don't need to talk about them, and
so
I don't think anyone wants to. I don't think anyone wants to hear about them.
Nope.
But that's all I really got to say. This is an interesting year so far. I'm happy with what we have been doing well. I think if we use our brains and we really, really take advantage of this bye week, Eureka, I think we can really make sure that the next 4 games go well. And if that being said, we get that playoff berth.
Yeah.
We don't make any silly mistakes. And I'm not, even if we do make the playoffs and we're looking real hot, I'm not expecting them to be perfect. No team is gonna be perfect. Okay. And no one should be expecting them to be perfect. But it's, as long as I'm seeing changes week by week, I'm happy, because then that shows me that, hey, we're acknowledging these things. And, if we fix a mistake and then we screw up again, that just shows what our team is all about, or that just shows, whoever is responsible for that screw up, that we got to do something about it. I don't know exactly what that means, but then that becomes a kind of an urgent matter because if you know how to fix it, there should be no reason to make the same mistake again. But that's enough of me on my little Buccaneers bye week soapbox, Eureka.
Yeah,
What do
man,
you got to say?
I agree with you a lot. If we take a look at the good and the bad, yeah, look, starting off slow, absolutely a big problem. We've talked about that for pretty much every time they've lost this year. It's been because of that. You also brought up the penalties, and that goes hand in hand, of course. That's just it's discipline. It's a lot of these things that at the end of the year, if there's still problems, now I think we would have to take a look at leadership. We'd have to take a look at coaching. We'd have to look at those things because if you're consistently starting out slow and you're consistently giving up penalties and you're not either coaching those guys up or getting better people in those positions, that's a conversation for later on. But as far as on the field, I'm encouraged that they can use this bye week and they can capitalize on the success that they had in the second half against the Chiefs, where they were utilizing that play action a little bit more. They were utilizing a lot of these short to intermediate routes, especially by Gronkowski eating multiple times big gains, and one huge one off of play action, right? But I think that through all of it, the defense is still, like you said, a top 5 defense, where 7-5 is a perfect record for the Buccaneers, because if you look at everything, you would say that for the most part they've been better than average in most. When they've been good, they've been really good, but when they've been bad, it's been kind of embarrassing. And so to just be 2 games over 500, I think is right where the story is aligned for this year. So now it is this final 4 games that, yeah, none of these teams are playoff teams and none of these teams are world beaters, but they're not as bad as you would think. And in the NFL, every team is really hard. It's hard to get a win in the NFL. Everyone will say that. Coaches, players, everyone will say no player wants to put bad film out there. So even if you're on, the Jaguars or the Jets, you're still going out every week, auditioning hopefully for your next gig, or at least auditioning for whoever the next coach is going to be or the next GM is going to be, because you always have to look out for yourself on that field. So I'm hoping that all these players aren't looking down at Atlanta, looking down at Detroit, looking down at Minnesota, in 2 weeks, because that's going to be even more telling is if we get another series of games like we had against the Bears, which we thought we would come in and just obliterate the Chicago Bears. If that's what happens against these teams that we have expectations to beat pretty handily, that's also going to be indicative of the players and the coaches. So I think if we do everything we do well, or at least better than average, if we do all those consistently, I see that we could win possibly all 4 games, but if not, at least 2 of the 4. But I think it's not out of the realm that they're going to run the table. And when they do run the table, I hope they're also answering these questions about, inconsistency in pass coverage, inconsistency with penalties and discipline, inconsistency with play calling, and really what is the identity of the Tampa Bay offense? Are we what everyone keeps calling it, the New England offense, or whatever? Tom Brady, kind of those short routes and play action and using the run game and kind of trying to keep everyone on their toes with quick release passes. Are we that? Are we the New England offense, or are we what I guess people are calling the Arians offense, where it's the deep throws out of nowhere, and this whole completely pass first offense. Where are we? And I think that I think that now we're at this point where if it is the coaching staff, they kind of need to let the players play, because we're 12 weeks in. I think there's a way better gauge of who's doing what, who needs to be in what positions, and how we can execute. So all in all, I am excited that we are heading towards the playoffs, and I'm excited that we have a actual shot to go 11-5 this year, which would be insane. And to be honest, Masab, man, in any other year, I think we would be very happy with 7 wins so far with the remaining schedule that we have in front of us. It's just you had talked about those expectations that were set, and some by kind of the big media outlets were kind of, as soon as Brady chose the Buccaneers, it was we got launched into that stratosphere. So as much as I do want to be kind of measured and calculated, I'm just as worried about the things that we've shown to be bad this year as I am excited and exuberant about all the things that we've shown to be excellent in. So that's the kind of situation that I find myself at, and that's that I kind of feel 7-5 if that makes any sense. But I feel like there is a lot of opportunity right in front of us, and they should be favored in the rest of the games for the rest of the year. And I hope that they can work out some of those kinks and work out some of those. Maybe there's some problems in the locker room, right, or between the coaching staff and the players. And I'm hoping that winning cures a lot of that. And I'm hoping that this week is the beginning of that catalyst where we kind of look at what we've done really well against good teams and what we need to improve upon. So
Right.
When you got a Hall of Famer under center, it makes it a little easier to swallow. You know, if it was Blaine Gabbert, or if it was Jameis Winston last year, or if it was someone else that wasn't, or if it was a rookie that we had drafted or something like that, it would feel a lot different than it does. But when you have Tom Brady, who has more often than not this year shown that he's still got it, I kind of feel like you always got a shot. And so that's how I feel about the Bucs, is we still got a shot. 5 losses, we still got a shot. And even if we just squeak into the wild card, all you got to do is get into the tournament, man. A lot of crazy things have happened with wild card teams.
Oh yeah,
that get
they
get into the tournament, and now you can wreak some havoc. And now it's really just about the matchups that you're playing. So, that's what I've got for the Bucs. Before we get out of here, though, I did want to I want to lean fully into this Tampa Raptors thing that we got as the NBA is just starting training camp, or whatever semblance of a training camp they can really start. But I was reading in the Tampa Bay Times this really cool mention that they had that one of the big reasons that the Raptors came to Tampa, or at least chose Tampa, or had them on the list in the first place, is that Nick Nurse, who's the head coach of the Toronto Raptors, they're gonna get mad at me on Twitter for saying that, but the Toronto Raptors were Nick Nurse reached out to his kind of a buddy of his that he used to coach against in Britain, and that is the head coach of the St. Leo University. Lance Randall is his name, the coach of St. Leo. And so Nick Nurse and Coach Randall, they go way back. And so they went from coaching each other in the early 2000s to they'll be hanging out on down at Sparkman Wharf, eating some tacos or something, man. But the Raptors are they've all landed. The Raptors are now in down there in Channelside or down there next to Amalie Arena, and it's kind of cool. They're building them a whole facility inside of the hotel right across the street. They're going to have this whole kind of area where they can walk from Amalie Arena, to their facility, which is in the ballroom of the JW Marriott, which is right down there in downtown. So they're going to have their own facility built in the ballroom of the hotel. They're going to have, a professional level arena in Amalie Arena. And Nick Nurse gets to kind of hang out with one of his buddies as they spend the first 2 weeks at St. Leo University practicing and doing training camp while they build all of this stuff inside the Marriott. So all in all, I think it's a pretty sweet setup for the Raptors. And I guess I'm hoping that this is a fun trial run with the NBA inside of Tampa, because I don't know how long they're going to stay in Tampa, but I think that little things like this leave a good taste in the mouth of the league to show that if there is kind of piquing interest into the NBA in our little neck of the woods, that as the NBA kind of looks to expand, which I believe is on the table, at least in the next decade, as they look to expand into markets, or as they look to maybe move a team out of an underperforming market, Tampa's a big enough market that even though they're close to Orlando, I think that there's a shot. So I'm, like I said, I'm leaning all the way into this. Toronto Raptors kind of hanging out and doing their winter vacation down here as a snowbird or as a snow dinosaur down here in Tampa. I know you and I are big basketball guys.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah. What have you been kind of keeping up with any of this?
I just got the news. He'll be doing some training up in St. Leo University.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, just the fact that they'll be playing the Amalie Arena is really cool. It would be really awesome, whether they stay here or NBA decides to put a team here in Tampa. That'd be really cool. I think it's needed, just because we already got the other sports, and Tampa is a booming city, especially the way things are going right now. So that'd be really cool. But that's all I really know. And
did you get a chance to check out kind of what was setting the internet on fire over the last 48 hours, which is this artist rendition? It's an artist design of a Tampa Raptors jersey.
Oh yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, I did check it out. Looks super cool to me. I definitely do like how it's a Florida, it's got that Florida vibe to it. I definitely like the colors as well, the light blue, pink. So for our listeners, if you haven't seen it yet, basically it's like your kind of throwback Raptors jersey, except this time it's kind of light blue. It's got a pink dinosaur wearing kind of those little Hawaiian t-shirts. Got the aviator sunglasses on. So it looks real cool to me. Oh man, I really pray it could happen. Probably most likely won't. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I've already actually had a buddy who told me that although he can't get a jersey, and if hopefully if things get better with COVID and they allow people to come, that they could. He sent me this Tampa Bay Raptors basketball T-shirt with the logo, and it's kind of got that Tampa Bay Rays TB style, just a little different font, and then it's got a little dinosaur kind of behind the TB, but he's munching on the letter T, with his sharp teeth.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you as well, Eureka. But it looks pretty cool. So hey, listen, to any of my Toronto listeners who are listening right now, I'm sorry, but Tampa's taking your team this year. You can have it. You can have it back next year if you want, or whatever the NBA decides. If they want to say, hey, they can stay in Tampa, that's wonderful. But hey, it's ours this year. So, like I told our Bucs fans, please don't overreact. All right, let us enjoy. Okay, we don't have basketball here, other than our USF Bulls basketball team. So,
Right.
I mean, that's just college. So let us enjoy, and that's really that's all I got to say, Eureka.
Yeah, I thought that'd be fun to kind of bring that up, but let's have some fun with the Tampa Bay Raptors while we got them. It might only be a few weeks. Who knows? With a lot of things outside of everyone's control, so let's just have fun with the good things that are happening in our sports world. So, with all that said, please. We appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to us talk about our favorite teams. If you are on any form of social media, check out at RBLR Sports. You can also leave us a voicemail. We are at 813-778-5280. That is 813-778-5280. Leave us a voicemail. Keep it under a minute. We'll pick the best ones. We'll answer, and we kind of use those to shape some of the questions that I ask on the pod here. So while you're listening, wherever you're at, if you could take just a little bit more of your time and remember to like and subscribe to our podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Podcasts. And we do post this onto YouTube. So whether you're on a podcast platform or you're on YouTube, just remember every subscription, every like helps us out, and it helps us all grow. We are a team, you as a listener, us kind of on our little soapbox, but together we are building this community. So that's all I ask out of you guys is like and subscribe, and it helps all of us make even more content for you. So, Musab, my friend, thank you very much. Amazing as always, sir. And let's rest up. And I know we're gonna cook up some cool things for next week as we kind of talk about the bye week and talk about moving on against the Minnesota Vikings.
My pleasure, Rika. Thank you very much. And all prayer goes out to our Buccaneers. Hope they get a nice rest this week, and they'll be ready to kick some butt against our Vikings, or not our Vikings, against the Vikings.
Yeah, there's no rest for us though. They get an off week. We'll see you right back at it next week. Have a wonderful week, guys, and we will see you.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.